Hello, this is KiwaniTalk. My name is Ray Scaboria. I'll be your host for this evening's program. KiwaniTalk is a public information program that we usually bring to you from Dearborn High School. But today we're at the Dearborn Administration Center because Kurt Doley is retiring, and we have to reaffirm whether we can tape at Dearborn High School. Today we're very pleased to have as our guest Sharon Harris. Sharon is the president of Lupus Detroit, an organization she started several years ago. Sharon, it's great to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you, Ray. It's nice to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Sharon, can you give us some of your background, you know, where you grew up, where you went to school, and then we'll get into the lupus area.
Born and raised in Detroit, a graduate of Renaissance High School. I went to a parochial elementary school that's no longer. St. Bridget, Schoolcraft in Indiana. Best time. Had a very good time. Had a great life growing up. It was fun. It's fun. When I graduated from Renaissance High School, I went south to Tallahassee, Florida, where I graduated in December of 2001 with a degree in broadcast journalism and also a minor in French. Now, I'm not fluent. I can say hi, bye, and have a good day. And from there, I became a flight attendant. I became a flight attendant in May of the next year because with lupus, I said if lupus is going to come and get me, it's going to find me in Paris. It's going to find me in Aruba.
Well, tell us a little bit about discovering that you had lupus.
I had stomach problems for 2 years. So for, my junior year at FAMU and my senior year. When my family came down in December of 2001, my mom and I, we played a whole lot. I'm the only child. And she said, Sharon, what's wrong with your face? I said, Mom, what's wrong with your face? And she said, no, really, your face is changing color. Now, Ray, I wash my face twice a day since I can remember, and didn't notice my skin here, my skin in my nose, and my skin in my ears were turning this color like I had vitiligo. And I said, well, Mom, I'll just get it checked out, you know, when I moved back to Detroit, you know. So when I got back home, I went to the dermatologist, and when she looked at me, she said, you have discoid lupus. I had never heard of lupus a day in my life. And she said, well, we're going to do a skin biopsy, which I thought was the most inhumane thing in the world. They took skin, literally, out of my face and put it in a vial.
Not too much, I hope.
No, it wasn't too much, but, you know, I can see the scar. You know how no one can see anything, but you can see it, you know, but I can see the scar daily. And she also did blood work. Yeah. And on February 4th, I will never forget the day, 2002, the doctor called and told me that I had both discoid and systemic lupus. Discoid lupus is lupus of the skin, and systemic lupus is lupus of the blood, and I had both. Yeah. And the percentage of a person being diagnosed with both at once, of course, is very low, but hey, here I am.
Yeah. Now, give a little, just a brief overview description of lupus, and what are some of the symptoms and what are some of the issues that can arise?
Sure. My symptoms, I had a lot of gastrointestinal problems, and the doctors in Tallahassee, they told me that I had Crohn's disease, but things just weren't adding up. The medication wasn't working. So when I would go to the ER in Tallahassee, they would just give me some medication to settle my stomach, and then they made the Crohn's diagnosis, but I just kept having problems. So once it started manifesting on my face with the lupus rash, my cheeks were white. By February, my cheeks were white. My hair had started falling out. I was having kidney involvement. I did have to be hospitalized because of my kidneys. My joints, you know, the flexure joints, my joints were just so large that I couldn't put rings on my fingers.
So, almost like an arthritic kind of a symptom.
Right, yeah, but I don't have RA. No. But yeah, one of the symptoms, and I remember that, I mean, just large, you know, just is extremely large. At that point, fatigue, you know, they always say, don't say you were tired, say it's fatigue. Because I would just lay around all day, every day, because I was tired. Yeah. You know, I was so tired. I had mouth sores. It was difficult for me to walk up and down stairs. That's what happened during that flare. And so as I started to get better, I went to church, and the message was, if it's the last day on earth, what would you do? And I said, well, I'll become a flight attendant. So I went home that Wednesday and just did a search, and I found out that Northwest Airlink, it had a subsidiary named Masaba. They were having an open house the next day. So I said, I put on my blue, and went to this open house out at the hangar, the Northwest hangar in Romulus. And oh my God, there were so many people. There were so many people. You just don't know how many folks want to be flight attendants, Yeah. So I went, and out of all the people, there are at least 150 people, they kept 7 of us.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You got a chance to do it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to kind of interrupt a little bit here,
Okay.
because I want to move along here, because to the point where you decided to start the organization here in Detroit.
Okay.
Because I know, I'm sure you served as a flight attendant for a while, but you passed on to going back to school and working here. Actually, you work at U of M Dearborn.
Dearborn,
right?
yep. Yeah. I work at U of M Dearborn. How the nonprofit started, I actually worked for another nonprofit, Lupus nonprofit, that was in St. Clair Shores.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do more, right, knowing that, I have lupus and I know that more could be done. And I just was past that point of where we're just going to have fundraisers, and distribute literature. This is when, the whole Detroit bankruptcy crisis was going along. And I know that with lupus, you can work for 6 months and then be unable to work for 2 years.
You're basically on disability. You can't work.
You cannot work.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get disability for lupus patients because we look well.
Yeah.
See, we look okay, And so I decided that all the great things that I was doing at the nonprofit in St. Clair Shores, I could do it on my own. And so I just pretty much just stepped out on faith and just decided to start Lupus Detroit. It was a daunting task because back then, to file 503C paperwork, the paperwork was about 53 pages. I reached out to people who were proficient in filling out the paperwork, and I was getting prices like $600, $800. And I said, well, if God put this in me, I'm just going to pray about it and do it myself. And January 18th of 2012, we were granted our 501c3.
Okay, well, great. That's
And,
wonderful.
and, they always say, it's tough, and it was tough because there was a lot of praying and, rewriting and things like that. But they didn't send it back to us. We were just granted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of your fundraisers, or one of your major fundraisers, is actually coming up fairly soon.
It is Saturday, September the 1st.
Tell us when you first started that, and then how many years ago, and how that's progressed.
Yes, we started that in 2012, and our 4th year, we had over 800 people at New Center Park. Our very first walk saw about 200 people. And so just with the community's involvement, their dedication, their support, their belief in Lupus Detroit, they've just kept it going. And for last year's walk, our goal to reach was $45,000. We surpassed that goal. But, we don't have a building, we don't have an office, we don't even have a staff. But that just goes to show how Lupus Detroit is needed in the community, how much they're behind us. And, to this day, I'm still kind of in awe, to be honest. Yeah.
Now, I assume you probably have set up within the organization, there's a board probably?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
you have a board.
Yeah, we have
and
a board.
You use that in order to decide how funds are distributed, for example, and I'm sure you get petitions from Lupus.
From numerous folks. We actually, and see, that's why I started Lupus Detroit, because I wanted to have a program like emergency financial grants for folks, and we dole them out monthly. And we do, we get the applications from folks who need help with their energy bills, with purchasing medication. My whole thing for the grant, I didn't want people to have to choose between feeding their families and paying a bill. You can have both. you know, that kind of thing. And so we evaluate each application on a case-by-case basis, you know, because we just want to help. And last year we began giving out the scholarships. So that made me very happy. The only, you have to go to a high school in Michigan. That's it. And have lupus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can be 60 or 16 as long as you're enrolled in school.
Now, do you have in your head some statistics on lupus, like what the incidence of lupus is approximately, and like how many potential lupus sufferers there are, say, in this area, for example?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is not a lupus database for Michigan or for the Southeast area, but the number that we say, there are 2 million people in the United States that have lupus.
Okay, and they would be distributed pretty evenly around the country?
Probably not.
Probably not?
Yeah, probably not.
Why do you say that?
Because what I've been told, if there are 10 women in a room, at least 3 black ones would have lupus.
Really?
Yeah, it really hits minorities hard.
Oh.
Yeah, and they, you know, they say it comes from your environment, you know, your genetics. No one in my family has lupus. I'm the winner, you know, that has lupus. But yeah, I think it's distributed, you know, more probably in Michigan, you know, because there are a lot of minorities in Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. But I would love to get a lupus database.
Now, I believe it's also correct that there's a much higher percentage of women that have lupus than men.
Oh, yeah.
Men can have lupus, but it's a much lower percentage.
They say 1 in 10 men. Okay. And also, once they're diagnosed, their symptoms hit them much harder. Oh, okay. Their kidneys and all that good stuff. Yeah, they're hit much more harder than women.
Yeah. Now, lupus, your board, for example, I imagine your organization, you probably have other people in your organization that are associated with lupus in some way, whether they have it or someone in their family has it. Is that true, some of them?
You know what, with my board, there are 5 of us. No, I'm the only one with lupus.
The only one?
Yeah, okay. I'm the only one with lupus. And I think we get just as many supporters that come to our events, you know, than have lupus. Yeah. Because they're angry, because they're mad. Yeah. Because, you know, their hair never grew back. And especially for the lupus warriors that have kids, you know, they have to miss a lot of their events. So they're mad. So they want to do something about it. Yeah. Yeah.
I can understand that. And lupus is under publicized. Would you agree?
Oh, I totally agree.
It's not. A lot of people never heard of lupus.
Never heard of lupus. When I was flying and I was engaged in a conversation with one of our passengers, she said lupus. She said, "Isn't that an island in Hawaii?" I said, "No, ma'am."
Actually, we didn't say this, but lupus is actually what's called an autoimmune disease, where it's actually the body's own immune system attacking the body.
Attacking itself,
and if they knew exactly why, they might be able to cure it, but there's no cure for it, apparently.
There's no cure for lupus. It's managed with medication. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Our good cells turn on each other. Yeah. And that causes us to have flares. And flares can be anything, like I mentioned earlier, the fatigue, the what they call it, lupus fog, where you just forget things. Yeah. You know, you just forget things, which I do often. And, you know, people have shown me a lot of grace, especially at the university with having lupus. Yeah, it's a tough disease.
Yeah, and the thing about the flares is you can't predict when one's going to come, and they could come at the most inconvenient time. I can imagine. And now, as I told you, I have a sister-in-law who has lupus, and she had a job where she was the principal of a small elementary Catholic school, where she both was the teacher and the principal.
Okay, you know? Very small.
And you can imagine the kind of activity involved in a job like that.
Yeah, very stressful.
And when she was, you know, as dedicated as she was to the job, the doctor said, you just have to, you cannot do this anymore. It's too stressful.
Right.
Because stress is not good for lupus,
it's not good for lupus, and that usually what sets off the flares. Yeah. And that's why I had to resign from being a flight attendant, because it was too much on my joints. Yeah.
Well, Sharon, we have, we're going to take a little short break here to advertise Kiwanis a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll be back right after this, talking with Sharon Harris, the president of Lupus Detroit, right after this break.
Is a kid fearless, nervous, playful? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Ray Scaboria. We're here on KiwaniTalk, and we have as our guest tonight Sharon Harris, who is the president of Lupus Detroit. Sharon, it's been so much fun talking to you the first half.
Thank you. Thank you.
What we want to do this half is kind of concentrate on your fundraiser, which is coming up pretty soon, your walk.
Yeah.
But before I do that, why don't I just mention, and we'll put on the screen here, your website is lupusdetroit.org.
Yes, you got it.
So anybody can go there and get this information in case they don't pick it up from the
And they
show.
can donate too, Ray.
Yeah, okay, okay.
They can donate at the website.
So now tell me about a little more about the walk.
Sure.
The date and the procedure.
And how everything works.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, it's our 6th annual Lupus Walk for Warriors, and it's right at New Center Park, and that's at 2nd Avenue and West Grand Avenue, and that's right across the street from the Fisher Theater.
Okay.
You know, so you don't need, everyone knows what the Fisher Theater is, so you don't even need an address. But the Detroit Police Department, they've been so gracious. What happens is that we meet there, and the Detroit Police Department, they chaperone us 0.8 miles around the park and through the neighborhood down by Wayne State University. They do it for free, you know, out of the kindness of their heart. And, you know, you feel safe, you feel protected because the police is there. And it's 0.8 miles. It's not even a mile. You know, some people elect just to stay back at the park. It's a small park, you know, nothing like Belle Isle, you know, if you've seen it, New Center Park. And people just like the fellowship, you know. A lot of people just stay behind and you can listen to the music. We have donated snacks, some snacks we purchase. But, I mean, it's just a great day. You know, we had a radio station last year that, like, did a live remote. Yeah, from the event. So people heard about it and came down. Registration is $20 for those that are 13 years and older. And that includes everything. We have a face painter, Sandra Epps. She's a lupus warrior. And just out of the kindness of her heart, whomever's there, she'll face paint. You know, she doesn't charge us anything, you know.
So when you say lupus warrior, she also suffers from lupus herself, but she's a face painter as well.
Yeah, she's a face painter. And we had a guy there last year who made the balloon animals, you know, and the balloon hats. And that was our first time, and that was so fun. You know, it was a good time. We always have an entertainer. Last year we had a singer. And she was wonderful. You know, she always sings things that uplifts people. Her name is El Renee. And she sang Rise Up by Audra Day. She has a gorgeous voice. And she did a beautiful job. There's hula hoops for kids. You know, one year we had a clown for the kids. It was just a good time. It's always a good time. Registration begins at 9. The walk begins about 10:45 because we have the singer. And we have a woman that warms us up, you know. So, you know, it's all the music that the kids love. Things that I'm like, oh, I don't know that song. But, yeah, it's a great time.
Now, I know that when you first started, you had a growth in attendance.
Yeah.
What kind of attendance are you hoping for? And of course, we're hoping we can encourage a few more folks to come out.
To come and join. You know what? Whatever God says, Ray, really, you know, as few people, as many people, I'm just grateful to be able to be in this position and have this platform to be able to help people. Yeah. But, you know, if 1 million people come, we'll take it. Well, hopefully, you know, we'll have over 1 million in donations. But, you know, whatever God says, I'm okay with. Okay. Because we've come a long way, you know, to date. And, you know, it just always boggles my mind that we don't have a staff and we don't have an office. To date, we've given away over $50,000, not including the scholarships. Yeah. So I'm just grateful.
Well, yeah. That's wonderful.
I'm so grateful. And we wind up about noon. It's not all day. Yeah. You know, you come. You get your peanuts and your pretzels and your cotton candy. you know, it really is a great day. And I thank God that we've never experienced any rain. It's always been a beautiful day. Yeah.
Well, as I had mentioned to you, I think before we started the show itself, that we do have 3 youth groups, and possibly we can get at least one of them interested in sending some of their members down.
Yes, we would love that.
Well, the thing about those groups is they like to be together. You know, so usually if they come, you get a bunch. You know what I'm saying? Because they come together.
Yeah, and we welcome that. We always and like now we're soliciting volunteers. Yeah. Yep. So if anyone wants to volunteer, they can email walk@lupusdetroit.org. And we always need people to register people, or just to help the face painter out. I forgot to mention that we also have 2 masseuses that come.
Two what?
2 folks that give you massages.
Oh, massages.
Yeah,
okay.
Yep. 2 masseuses. So, you know, we need help with that. And even to keep people safe on the sidewalk, because people's inclination is just to walk in the street, you know, during the walk. But the police like to keep the people with the participants on the sidewalk. So, you know, we don't want anything bad to happen during the Lupus walk. Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned that you have another fundraiser. It's not imminent. It's in the spring.
Yeah, it's in the spring.
But why don't you describe that a little bit?
Okay. Every May is Lupus Awareness Month. We have a luncheon. Last year, being that it was our 5th year, we had a gala. So, you know, that was wonderful. And we had the comedian Roy Wood Jr. He was the MC, and he's on the Trevor Noah show. You know, so that was awesome. We went to school together. We went to FAMU together. And he said, well, I'll come. You know, I won't charge you anything because, you know, you're my friend and I believe in lupus. Because Roy saw me when I was bald. You know, I've been bald twice. And, you know, Roy would check on me and all that good stuff. So he came last year. You know, we've just been really fortunate, Ray, but that people have wanted to support us. This year's event was awesome. There is a comedian named Crystal P. who has lupus. So she was our entertainment this year, and she was so funny. And we also had Dr. Julia.
Does she have any lupus jokes?
Yeah, she had lupus jokes. Yeah, she had lupus jokes. She did. And
you might as well laugh about it.
Yes, and laugh about it, and you know that's good for awareness. You know, maybe you can laugh at yourself.
Sure.
You know, and we had Dr. Juliet. She's the vice president of community affairs for MGM. And so she spoke, you know, she was our keynote speaker. It was at the Yacht Club on Belle Isle. You know, we had about 150 people there, and we had silent auctions and all that. You know, it was just a great day. Because I said I didn't want to walk lupus warriors to death. You know, we wanted to get jazzy, get fancy, you know, and just enjoy ourselves. And there's an attorney in Detroit, Todd Russell Perkins. He lost his wife to lupus 2 years ago. And he joined with us to distribute the scholarships. You know, his wife was big into education, and he selected us. And so he gave out 3 scholarships, and we did the, we had 3 of them too. So $6,000 in total, yeah.
With scholarships, it's important to present them, because the presenting is as important as the scholarship itself. Because it often is very psychologically stimulating to be presented with a scholarship.
Yep, and they're plaques.
Yeah.
You know, we gave them their $1,000 and their plaques. And that was great because that's really what it's about. You know, lupus warriors, and a lot of times they don't have, they can't go straight through with their education, and there are breaks, you know. So to award each of them $1,000 is super.
Yeah. Now, we have about 3 minutes to go here. I just want to mention again that the website is lupusdetroit.org.
That lupusdetroit.org.
And you do have a mailing address, which is not an office. It's actually a
UPS store.
UPS store. Yes. But if somebody actually wants to mail you something there, like a check or something, you'll get it.
We will get it. Yeah, they're really very diligent.
and the address is 18701 Grand River Avenue, number 129, Detroit. 48223, and we'll put that on the screen too at some point.
Awesome. Yep.
So people can see that. And of course, they could also see that on the website, I assume.
Yep, on website, and it's on our Twitter page. We're also on Twitter, Lupus Detroit, Instagram and Facebook, Lupus Detroit. Yeah, we just make ourselves accessible because people need that support and fellowship.
Yeah. Now, if somebody wanted to talk about the organization, are you open to calls? And if so, are you open to someone calling you to talk about participating in some way?
That's the phone number. And unfortunately, Ray, I don't know it by heart.
Well,
but it's
this one here, 313-757-0371.
Okay. And you know, in 4 or 5 years, I have not learned the phone number. I have not. Because a lot of people communicate via email.
Yeah.
And you can reach Lupus Detroit at info@lupusdetroit.org.
Okay.
Yeah, but even on our website, everything is pretty much out there. Yeah, you know, all of our email addresses, phone number.
We're going to give your card to our director, and he'll have all the correct information.
Okay, sounds good. I also want to mention every 4th Saturday we host Lupus Warrior Support Group meetings. So we'll have someone come in, and they'll talk about either our health, finances. We have one the 4th Saturday of this month, and it's going to be at the Professional Medical Center at Gratiot and Mount Elliott. One of our members, she's a lupus warrior, Francine, she's written 2 books. And so she's going to come and discuss her books.
Okay, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I think we're down to our last minute here.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we close?
Yes, you know, pretty much just thank you. I'm grateful. You know, my heart is full all of the time because people don't have to support your organization, but they do. And last year we came through $45,000 strong, you know, and this year's goal is $50,000, and I'm sure that we'll meet and exceed that. So I'm just grateful, Ray. Just grateful for it all.
Well, you know, I want to congratulate you for putting in the effort to start an organization like this, because it's an ongoing task, and it's not. I know you don't have any salary from it. It's something you do because you feel it's needed.
It's needed.
And it helps people that need the help.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And so, Sharon Harris, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you, Ray. I appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much.
And consider that walk on the 1st of September to support the Lupus Detroit. Thank you for watching, and join us on KiwaniTalk again soon.